Here they come.
Welcome to this week's edition of Here They Come. I'm Paul Ramlow.
And I'm Jessica Schroeder.
Jessica, this is sort of our drivers special for the 2012 season. We're going to talk a lot about drivers today, starting with a unique driver competition that's going to take place later this month at the Isle Pompano Park.
Pompano Park has invited 4 drivers from Cal Expo to come to their track to kind of do an East meets West Drivers Challenge. Wally Hennessy and Bruce Ranger will be taking on Luke Plano and Steve Wiseman from Cal Expo. And then for amateur drivers, David Siegel and Rick Bertrand will be taking on Jamie Mara and Joe Campagnolo. Now, all these drivers are going to be racing on 2 separate nights at Pompano in the same races, so it's not like there's going to be amateur drivers in one race and professional drivers in another. They're going to be racing against each other.
That's right, Jessica. In fact, the amateur drivers will have a bit of a handicapping advantage, if you will, in that they all draw for the inside post positions 1 through 4, while the professional drivers will draw posts 4 through 8. So it'll be an interesting competition, and it will take place on Monday, March 12th and Tuesday, March 13th at Pompano. This will be the second Pro-Am challenge that I am aware of, as the drivers from Cal Expo took on the drivers from Northfield Park a few years ago. There have been a lot of driver competitions over the years in the sport. I remember back in the 1980s when I worked at Raceway Park, we had an Ohio driving challenge in which 2 drivers from each track came to each of the other 3 tracks for a competition. And of course, you're well aware of the Tioga Drivers Challenge, which takes place every summer, inviting the top drivers, money-winning drivers in the sport. So this will be interesting.
And David Siegel actually posted a blog on the USTrotting.com website earlier this week, just kind of giving some insight in what he thought about the Pro-Am race, and then also to note that possibly TVG will be broadcasting some of the races, and that Trackmaster will be having some wagering tools, programs, etc., to help people that want to wager on the races.
Over the past month, Jessica, 6 prominent harness racing drivers reached career milestones. I can't recall ever seeing that many in this short of a period of time. Just to recap, Tony Morgan reached 14,000 wins at Dover, Wally Hennessy 8,000 at Pompano Park, Aaron Merriman 5,000 at Northfield, John Wagner also had 5,000 at Dover Downs, and Matt Kakaley at Dover Downs and Jordan Stratton at Yonkers Raceway, each with career victory number 2,000.
Matt actually became the youngest driver in history to hit 2,000 wins, taking over from Tim Tetrick, who at 24 hit that milestone. And with Jordan Stratton right behind him, he's only 24 years old too. So we got some up-and-coming drivers that are hitting these milestones relatively quick. And I expect that they'll be then the next youngest to hit 4,000, the next youngest to hit 5,000, etc. Then you also have veteran Tony Morgan, who at the age of 53 hit 14,000. And he is only the 4th driver to hit that number, behind Hervé Filion, Dave Pallone, and Cat Manzi. So it'll be really interesting to see how these drivers keep performing throughout the years. With Wally Hennessy, him being 55 years old, how many more drives is he going to be getting? What other milestones can he be hitting as well?
And speaking of Dave Pallone, Jessica, he'll become only the 2nd North American driver to reach 15,000 career wins later this year. And then he'll be only a couple hundred wins shy of passing Hervé Filion and become North America's all-time winningest driver. Now, there are several other drivers getting ready to approach career milestones. Thanks to David Carr, we have this graphic showing the latest list of drivers approaching their next major victory. Well, 18-year-old driver Joe Bongiorno had quite a day last Friday night, Jessica. He won his first career race at both Yonkers Raceway and Meadowlands Racetrack on the exact same night. Bongiorno, who started out in the amateur ranks while he was still in high school, was the National Amateur Driver of the Year as selected by the U.S. Harness Riders Association in 2010, and then turned professional last fall on the occasion of his 18th birthday on September 23rd. He also received the Rising Star Award from the Monticello Goshen chapter of the U.S. Harness Riders Association. So quite a day for Joe Bongiorno.
It was, and you know, he's actually come from a family that is deeply ingrained into harness racing. He comes from the Dancer family. But for anybody who didn't grow up in a harness racing family, there is the USTA driving school, which is now just coming up here in the spring. From May 30th until June 3rd, the Harness Racing Museum and Hall of Fame in Goshen, New York, will be hosting the USTA driving school. And anybody who is interested in is aspiring to become a driver or trainer can go to the school, get some hands-on experience, getting horses ready, working in the barn, learning from people that have excelled in the sport. And the funny thing is that a couple of those drivers that just hit those milestones, like Aaron Merriman and Matt Kakaley, were speakers at previous year's driving schools, so you hear from the best.
For anyone that would like to have more information on the USTA driving school, you can check us out online at ustrotting.com.
Well, Heather Moffett is probably better known for interviewing drivers on her shows PA Harness Week and Post Time than for her singing career, but she also contributes immensely to different charities that she feels very passionate about.
Yeah, now we're going to see whether Heather makes a good Olympic diver and swimmer, as on March 9th she is going to jump into a freezing horse pond on her family farm in Harrington, Delaware, in order to raise money for Wells for Ghana. That's a group that builds fresh water wells in West Africa and is headed by harness horseman Kenny Wood. Now Heather's trying to raise $5,000 for this charity and says she won't jump into the pond unless she gets that $5,000. So you can help make that goal possible. Visit Heather's website for more information. And in our next episode of Here They Come, Jessica, Heather promises that she'll send us some footage of that historic jump into the pond. Well, that wraps up this week's episode of Here They Come. I'd like to thank our producer, Rich Johnston. I'm Paul Ramlow.
And I'm Jessica Schroeder.
Join us again next time on Here They Come.